Alrighty, party peoples of the interwebs, Viva Fry, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler, in my home office doing a short car vlog with the sun setting behind me. I do live streams daily. I've tried to now fix myself to a schedule 12:30 Eastern time daily. And at the end of today's live stream, someone said, Viva, have you heard about this story about these hackers who have exposed some vulnerabilities in the election software, except there's not enough time to fix the vulnerabilities that they have discovered? And I'm like, no, this would be front page news everywhere if it were true. And lo and behold, it's true, and it's not front page news. So I'm going to do my best to make this front page news, or at least put it on sufficient blast so that it gets the attention I believe it warrants. From Politico, the nation's best hackers found vulnerabilities in voting machines, but no time to fix them. Organizers and participants at the DEF CON voting village found cyber vulnerabilities in everything from voting machines to e-poll books, but there is no time before the November election to fully implement their findings. First of all, DEF CON voting village, that is a badass name coupled with the nerdiest name ever, but more power to them at DEF CON voting village. Yeah, so they discovered some vulnerabilities, but there's not enough time to implement the changes to remedy the vulnerabilities between now and November. Now, I say this time and time again, intelligence is about not controlling what people know, but rather only when they know it, because you can't conceal things forever. You can just ensure that the information trickles out in due time so that you can manage the flow of information and thereby the response to that flow of information. And I ask myself, what good does it do revealing this information right now, telling you that there's not enough time to implement the corrections to the vulnerabilities that they've discovered in the voting machines between now and November? And the only conclusion I can come to is that they are sort of persuading the general population that if Donald Trump loses, he's going to invoke these vulnerabilities, and if he wins, they get to invoke these vulnerabilities to undermine his win. But set that aside, let's just get to the article. Some of the best hackers in the world gathered in Las Vegas over the weekend to try to break into voting machines that will be used in this year's election, all with an eye to helping officials identify and fix vulnerabilities. The problem? Their findings will likely come too late to make any fixes before November 5. And then we present the problem, but then we sort of downplay the problem by saying, don't worry, they do this every year, but typically they just leave enough time in order to implement the repairs to the vulnerabilities that they get to hack by way of their hacking. You know what I mean. In one sense, it's the normal course of events. Every August, hackers at the DEF CON conference find security gaps in voting equipment, and every year the long and complex process of fixing them means nothing is implemented until the next electoral cycle. But election day security is under particular scrutiny in 2024. That's both because of increasing worries that foreign adversaries will figure out how to breach machines, and because President Donald Trump's unsubstantiated allegations of widespread fraud in 2020 undermined confidence in the voting among his supporters. My goodness, I tell you, it's not about being smart, it's just about anticipating how demons and how scoundrels think. I can now predict how scoundrels think, so I can actually preemptively think about their arguments, what they're going to argue before they actually do it, as I just did right now. And what I absolutely love, is that hackers have now found vulnerabilities in the voting machines in every aspect of it, according to this article, that they will not be able to fix between now and November. But somehow we should believe that 2020 was kosher than the Pope. I don't think that makes any sense, but somehow we're supposed to be led to believe that 2020 was beyond reproach. It's a load of crap. They are basically getting you to understand that there were issues in 2020 because, my goodness, they spent the last decade warning us of the dangers of electronic voting machines until they decided they were all perfect. As a result, many in the election security community are bemoaning the fact that no system has been developed to roll out fixes faster, and worrying that the security gaps that get identified this year will provide fodder for those who may want to question the results. And there you have it. They are already setting the stage for people complaining, but wrongly, as if there would be something blameworthy in saying, yeah, there are vulnerabilities and I don't trust the results. And also they are quite quietly seeding the lawn, planting that wonderful seed of doubt that if Donald Trump wins, they will then get to turn around and blame it on foreign interference and vulnerabilities that they identified in this article 3 months earlier, but specified that there was no time to correct them. So now we're just going to have to go and cancel those results, disqualify Donald Trump. Raskin said as much.
And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions.
But let's get the details of the vulnerabilities the hackers identified. From Friday to Sunday, Voting Village hackers clustered around tables with all shapes and sizes of voting machines and equipment to verify voters' identities or tabulate ballots, trying to get past firewalls or other security measures. Nearby, secretaries of state and other election officials gave talks on misinformation and disinformation threats facing the upcoming election. Oh yeah, and the vulnerabilities that cannot be fixed between now and November, but don't worry, every other election has been totally pure and proper. Unlike most of the other events at the conference, though, the Voting Village was not on the main show floor. It was a decision organizers said was necessary in order to ensure security following years of hatred flung at the event online by those who see the hackers as undermining democracy. In recent years, individuals associated with election denialism showed up at the Voting Village to harass organizers and speakers. The findings, at times ignored or resisted by the manufacturers of voting machines, have increasingly been accepted in Washington, and the event is often seen as key for boosting the security of machines. See you soon. Okay, awesome. Bye-bye. Tell them what I'm doing. And if you thought these hackers were there all year long trying their best, as would be foreign adversaries trying to infiltrate the electronic voting machines, no. They discover all of these vulnerabilities apparently within 2.5 days of hacking. Quote, if you don't think this kind of place is running 24/7 in China, Russia, you're kidding yourselves, end quote. Hunzi said, gesturing around the room of voting equipment. Quote, we are here only for 2.5 days and we find stuff. It would be stupid to assume that the adversaries don't have absolute access to everything, end quote. But we were led to believe that 2020 was beyond reproach. Dominion voting machines were absolutely secure, and if you dared question it, my goodness, you got deplatformed on YouTube in some cases. Any issues found in these machines, most of which are used in at least one jurisdiction around the US, would need to go through a complex process to be fixed, and that takes much longer than the 2 months until the November general election. Voting Village organizers are frustrated that despite years of security findings, voting machines vendors aren't moving more quickly to make fixes. Why in the name of sweet holy hell would they ever have had that incentive when for the last few years they have had the full backing of the media and politicians assuring us that they are beyond any form of criticism or concern? That's a rhetorical question. The answer is they would have no incentive to do it because they had the full protection of the media. And why are they sowing these seeds of doubt right now? Your guess is as good as mine, and mine is pretty damn good. Quote, there's so much basic stuff that should be happening and it's not happening. So yes, I'm worried about things not being fixed, but they haven't been fixed for a long time, and I'm also angry about it, end quote. Hertz said during a break in the day. I tell you, they are in full panic mode. I think they know that they are going to lose to Donald Trump, and this is their way of already undermining Trump's victory in advance by laying the groundwork to suggest that it was foreign interference that led to Donald Trump's smashing victory in November 2024. Fingers crossed, touch wood, and whatever else people do for good luck, my goodness, may things happen the way they should come November. But let's just get to the end of this article and the problems it raises with no solutions offered. Quote, we want to build a program where we can work in partnership with the security researchers under the principles of coordinated vulnerability disclosure, end quote, Algier said. Until then, for those who packed the Voting Village this weekend with lines spilling out in the hallway, the event serves a higher purpose. Quote, we may not be able to fix everything about our election system in the next 90 days, but we can start by getting some of our facts straight and by understanding how our election system works, end quote, Terranova said. We won't be able to fix the problems that hackers just discovered between now and the election, but we're going to raise the awareness of it now, even though we've been denying that these problems could possibly ever exist since 2020. And even though we have now found these problems do in fact exist and we don't have enough time to resolve them before November 2024, rest assured none of these problems existed in 2020. And if you dare question that election, you are an election denier, but the problems are real and we can't fix them before November. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call the absolute gaslighting of the media. There was no problem then, there's a problem now, we're telling you there's a problem now, and planting that seed of doubt so that if Donald Trump wins, and I suspect they know that he is going to win, we can then claim, oh look, we warned you of all of these vulnerabilities 3 months ago, but we told you we didn't have enough time to correct them, so there's only one way to correct it: disqualification. Ouch. So that's it. This is the story that I think deserves a little bit more attention, and hopefully this video succeeds in putting it on a little bit more blast. But if you like what I do, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, make sure your notifications are turned on, and drop a comment every time I drop a video because it helps with the algorithm. If you want to follow what we do at Locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. I go live every day. I'm trying to do it at 12:30 every day. We'll see if it works. 12:30 every day on Rumble. More important than anything, exercise, eat healthy, sunlight, talk to people in real life, and now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Bye.